Hi everyone, welcome to podcast number 17. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode for a start. It's just me introducing it, other than Rob. Rob and I are hoping to record another podcast fairly soon, which goes into a lot of updating details about Proost, about where things are up to, about stuff to do with companies limited by guarantee or whatever other format that we think is appropriate for Proost going forward, because we now have to get our heads around some of that stuff. Also, we want to talk to you in quite a bit more detail about our up and coming Proost weekend, which will be in Glasgow in the second weekend in October. We're hoping to involve as many of you as possible in that, in terms of bringing art. The weekend will be themed around mycelium. It'll cost nothing to attend. Obviously, you may have costs for getting there and accommodation and things, although we'll do our best to help you with some of that as well if you're really struggling and need to and would really like to take part. For example, we're being hosted by a group of churches, and some of them have kindly offered places to stay. So yeah, that's going to be an amazing weekend. There'll be a ceilidh, which I'm just really looking forward to, a traditional ceilidh, which will involve not only the usual thing of dancing, but also opportunities to hear poetry and song and all sorts of other things that were part of making the weekend special. But yeah, we'll talk more about that fairly soon with the chat with Rob, as long with other things. But for now, here is the first part of our Wilderness Retreat podcast. Hi guys, so this is a slightly different episode for our Proost podcast listeners. This one is recorded not in a studio, not with us sat looking at screens, but about as far from that digital experience as possible, because we're on a small island called Lunga, which is in the Hebrides. We'll be showing you some footage for those of you that are listening with your eyes as well as your ears, of just how beautiful this place is. And though beautiful and viewing worthy as those images will be, that's not why we're talking to you about Lunga and about our visit here. For a lot of years, I'm not entirely sure how many because I haven't counted recently, but it's 20 plus years, I've been part of an extended group of friends and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends, and sometimes random people that have said, hey, I really like the sound of that, please come along, who have every May bank holiday, the first May bank holiday, the only May bank holiday in Scotland, have gone out to a small island, chartered a boat, and sort of there's many small islands just off the coast of Argyll mainly, where I live, that have incredible heritage. So the criteria is that the island should be, if at all possible, not occupied. So these are islands that nobody lives on. This island actually has, as you can see, a house, and we did meet the owner of the house, a guy with a fantastic name from a Celtic point of view, of Ninian. So he was our saint for the island. He was extremely welcoming. He doesn't live here, but he's got all sorts of plans to use it as a place of retreat himself. He's a blacksmith. But yeah, so we've used many other islands, lots of which are associated with Celtic pilgrimages, Celtic saints, old pilgrimage sites, ones with 7th century monasteries on that may or may not be associated with St Columba's Hinba or Brendan's monastery before he set sail across the Atlantic. So there's lots of special places here. But what are our trips about? They're not really about the place, even though the place is like this huge kind of companion for the whole time we're here. They're about something else. They're about the companionship we make. They're about the creativity of just coming to somewhere different and new, and trying to inhabit that in a way that allows us to kind of explore ourselves, explore friendship, explore spirituality. So yeah, I wanted to talk to some of my friends here, and yeah, I think if you are listening on the podcast, I'm guessing we will be uploading this to YouTube, but although I know that lots of podcasting software will let you watch the video as well, I think this is one of those where probably the video is a must, because this is quite something. You might just be picking up some shrieking in the background. That's some people going in the sea, and given this is early May in the west coast of Scotland, the sea is probably colder than the Arctic, so I have chosen not to do that this time. So yeah, anyway, hopefully shortly we'll be having some of those brave souls and just talking a little bit about their experience as to why they come here and what it means to them. So here we are. So it's 3 reprobates that hopefully we can get some chat going. I think we are all gentlemen of a certain age, aren't we, boys?
We are.
As you can see. I'd like to pretend that there are much younger people here, and there actually are, aren't they? Yes, but they're just not, at the moment, speaking on camera or speaking on podcasts. So, would you like to introduce yourself, gentlemen? Graham.
I'm Graham.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say?
Well, you could introduce, say a little bit about where you're from, maybe. Or?
Yeah, I live in North Yorkshire. I'm head of chaplaincy in the NHS Trust. I have known Chris for 15 years. I think my wife first knew him maybe 30 years before.
That's not possible. I'm not that old.
I also I have 2 children who are adult children now. In my spare time, I still preach a bit. I'm a cricket umpire, cricket club president, and a pantomime dame.
Very much a pantomime dame. He may, as in the course of this conversation, morph into that character. Okay, and Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil. I currently live in Slough. I'm a vicar. I first met Graham on the first one of these that we both came to. More years ago than I kind to remember. That's the first time I met Graham.
Right.
It's his first trip and my first trip. And we bonded through our incompetence at that time, but Graham's now much more competent than he was then. So we just love being here, and it's just great to know all these folk that otherwise I probably would never have met, and to share these spaces with them.
Andrew?
My name's Andrew. I'm an associate priest in Gloucestershire, so I think I might have travelled the furthest this time. I'm self-supporting, so I work for an engineering company as a buyer during the week, and I think my first one of these was the same one that Graham and Neil came to.
Really?
Yeah, sounds like it. So I think we were all incompetent together. I did a couple and then took a break for about 10 years, and this is my first one back in 10 years.
Wow. Okay, well, it's interesting. We had a long chat this morning, where it's one of those things where you think, should I have recorded that chat? And but actually, it would have spoiled it. And we were asking lots of questions about what it is about these trips that we find meaningful, and what is it about what happens here that creates that opportunity. So that's kind of my question for you guys, accepting that, you know, the chat we had earlier is a different sort of area of, in the space-time continuum. You know, what are the ingredients that makes these retreats work for you guys?
Temporary community.
Yeah.
That works. Some element of shared ritual, and also there's something about being outside and in the open and cut off. No toilets, no bathrooms, all of which are very important to me. And even though that's only for 48 hours, I think that bonds community greater. But I think potentially get more depth, because it's hard. Well, I find it hard just to make food, to do the other things that we will not mention on a polite podcast. And it's the open air, and it's being in wild places that exist not dependent on you and don't care about you. Those are the things that make it for me.
And I think, following on from that, from this morning, thinking about time, because here we've got time, and there are lots of different aspects about what makes these times and spaces fantastic. And there's the community bonding, we're able to have a laugh together, get to know one another, talk about important things, but we've got time to do it, and we don't need to be trying to do it all together, all at the same time. Often when you try and do these things, maybe in a church context or something, you do something, you got 2 hours or 3 hours, and then it's all very focused, and here we can just kind of let it go. And sometimes we're doing things all together, sometimes it's a few of us, and we got that time to get the rhythm. And it's always different, because if the weather's nice, then some aspects of life are relatively easy and you've got a bit more time. If it's chucking it down in the rain, actually just staying dry, trying to set up a shelter takes up loads of time, and cooking takes up loads of time, so it shifts the dynamics. But we've got that time and space here to be able to go with where it happens to be each year, and that gives us the really good space to really explore what matters to us. And each year it's a bit different, and that's good, because there's different people each year. There are some continuities, some different things, so you're not necessarily you're not going over the same things. If it was the same 12 of us every year, we'd probably end up repeating ourselves, and you end up with that group think. But because there's different people each time, then it keeps it fresh and keeps us thinking and keeps us really reflecting. And that's what makes this so good, is there's always something to make you think, challenge your assumptions without demanding that you follow the example of one of us. It's suggestions in, this is what I find helpful, what do you think? And that works really well for me.
Okay, great. Thoughts, Andrew?
All of that.
Yes.
Moving on. No, I think it's difficult, because I didn't come for 10 years, and I think
You had a 10-year break between the first 2 times you came, and then you went off to do other stuff, and then you saw the light and came back,
well,
basically.
yes, I wasn't ordained before, and I've gone through the whole rigmarole for that. As that process ended, I started thinking, what do I miss? And one of the things was this. And I realised that it was interesting that at least half the people here were on the one I was last on, and it's almost like it was like yesterday, and we just pick up where we left off, and I think that's very special. I've always loved wild places, and like the others have said, it can be very challenging, even when the weather's good. I mean, I'm using a lot of the same kit I used 10 years ago, and I've realised it's quite worn out now. And you know, I've struggled the last 10 years mentally and various other ways, but actually coming back to wild places, remote places, there's something about pilgrimage, about journeying, arriving. What was it? I think you said the other day, or the deep conversations, and considering we're all men, there's 12 men.
Which isn't always the case, but it has certainly been the case this time.
You could think it would just become very laddish and boorish, but it doesn't. It's not really. We actually have deep conversations, and in between other less deep conversations.
We were saying earlier that a lot of the chat can get very, very crude and blue in ways that might shock. I think there's also a sea eagle being scragged by some Covids just around the corner.
Corvids, you mean, not
Covids.
Covids. They're
like birds, but they've got a terrible disease. Yes, that's what's happening. But it can get very blue. But it's amazing how one that flows into, you know, almost deep conversations as if like, you know, the two are not mutually exclusive. Who knew?
It kind of breaks the ice, and I think we all find our vulnerability in different ways. So some people can do it by being crude, and for them that kind of just opens up the minds to kind of go to a deeper place. And a few people have said that they're just happy just to listen to conversations, and then they'll say something wise at the end.
We kind of were talking earlier, and we're saying that actually that contributes to a certain kind of honesty, but also there seems to be a little bit more to it than just honesty, doesn't there? It's almost like your guard is down, and there's a vulnerability in some of that. And I don't think that's necessarily true of all crudity, but it does seem to be true on the island. I don't know whether you guys would agree. I should say that there's Graham and I, who are not regular church attenders, or you know, and then we have two professionals with us. So we might adopt a slightly different view of crudity generally, especially on camera.
This is going to be published.
Yes.
I think I not shock myself. I think if you're watching this and seeing Beautiful Sun and thinking, oh, that looks really good, it is. But Beautiful Sunshine is the aberration, and I surprised me. I once, I think the first year after this, I think I said to a friend, I'm a born again bloke, as in I am a Christian, but I'm discovering how to be a bloke again. And I let my guard down here more than anywhere else because I feel safe. I was going to say I swear more than it's good for me, but I think swearing is good. I think it's everything together. When I came on the first couple, I was in a period of crisis and questioning. So certain things I see on an island that remind me of that time and really help me. I don't know if I am now. I don't think anybody can really say that. But I see a spiritual director every so often. I come here, and I'm more regular at church than you, Chris. But I'm not as regular as I was.
Yeah, but you're not a welcome presence. So
No, I'm not a welcome presence in any shape or form. But this forms part of my. I don't like to use the word spiritual, but my spiritual life. This experience stays with me for a long time, even in the way that I look at things, the way that I walk, how I notice things, and I take lots of photographs. I think Andrew has spoken about to me about taking photographs because it helps to capture what you're going through. And sometimes you can come. Well, something always happens, as in you have this space together. I don't come looking for revelation. I if any kind of revelation happens, it just happens, and that revelation is usually something very small or insignificant that I would have said was small and insignificant years ago. It's grand, even though I still hate camping.
And I suppose we should say something about how this thing works. What do we actually do while we're here? I mean...
Well, it does depend. I mean, you did show us an outline programme when we arrived, and it almost immediately went wrong.
It's only a rough guide.
Seldom is it aligned since then.
Yes.
But it's really important, I think, that there is a vague structure, but we're not slavish to it. So generally there are times when we're encouraged to be on our own, to reflect. There's times when we share, maybe talking about discussions, sometimes prompted with a bit of preparation, sometimes just as a result of some things that people have said. So that's really important, and because especially, you know, if the weather's bad, then we're together more. If the weather's good, then there's more likelihood that maybe we split up and go, not necessarily on our own, but you know, in 2s and 3s little groups going and exploring. But we do come together regularly, and although we might not, sometimes we cook communally, often we cook individually, but we cook at the same kind of time, so we're sharing meals, if not individual bits of food. Although Paul did some fantastic apple and cinnamon scones last night. Scones, good. I'm allowed. He says scones. I always say scones.
And James cooked a piece of lamb.
I realise I'm in Scotland, so they usually say scone. But I can be a West Country boy and say scone. But yeah, James did a fantastic leg of lamb that he cooked in an oven under the earth.
Yes.
In a way that I never could. But those things are fantastic.
Yeah.
But that really matters, and we help each other out if you know, things are going well or things are going not so well. And there are always a couple of points of real gathering together. Sometimes we share communion. Sometimes we've got something to think about, a poem or a psalm or some other piece of writing, and we take it on our own time and talk about it afterwards. But it's, if you need to have some space on your own, then you have some space on your own. It's not you will come and you know, you will come and answer the question now, tell me your innermost thoughts.
It's interesting to me that it's very evident in our earlier conversation, the way that how much things have changed in the years that we've been doing what we've been doing. You know, perhaps even in the 10 years since you came before, Andrew. That previously, I think there was a time when I used to bring all sorts of prepared meditations and walks, particular walks where we'd do prayers as you walk, and
Tea lights.
Lots of tea lights, yes, like music in caves, and so we've explored all sorts of different pieces of creativity. We've, you know, sort of flown kites with prayers attached to the tail. We've kind of sent bottles with messages in, all sorts of things that we've done, and we don't do any of that anymore. And I think it's because we've come to realise that actually the space, the friendship, the laughter, and the depth is what really matters. I mean, have you noticed a different flavour since in that 10 years since you were here? I know you said that lots of it's the same as well, which I'm glad to hear. But
I think still having that rhythm of rough times when we come together to eat and to, and you're still saying, so there's set silent times and sharing times. And those times are a bit elastic, but they do happen, and people respect them. Even people who find them uncomfortable, that they just go off for a walk or something. And I think I find it interesting that there's people from all sorts of faith backgrounds. Some people that come just because they like coming to wild places and they're not really interested in the wild side of it. But people who said that when I was here before, it was interesting that, was it today or last night, they said, I might not go to church, but this is my church. So I come once a year, and this is where I meet God, or where I meet the creation, or whatever you want to call it.
So there we go. There's part one. I'm getting nostalgic for what a beautiful, beautiful place it was that we spent time together on. So part two coming up very shortly.